All right. Addition of real numbers is combining two or more values into one. Addition can be illustrated with a number line. Adding positive values on a number line can be shown by moving to the right. So if we have a number line, and if I'm at 2 and I want to add 3, I just go on the number line. And if I go over 1, 2, 3, and I was at 4, I was at 3, 4, and 5. This is at 5. So if I'm adding 3, it's the same as I get to 5 at the end.
Okay.
That makes sense? So we're just going to go to the right if I add. Okay. Adding negative values can be shown as moving to the left. So if I have a number line and I'm at 3 and I want to subtract, let's say 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where will I be? I'll be at 2, 1, 0, then negative 1, negative 2. So that would be if I'm subtracting 5. If I'm at 3 and I subtract 5, I'll be at negative 2. Okay? All right? And so that's what these two illustrations are showing here. And so we have some rules here, and I'm going to pause this for a moment. So right here it says, to add or combine two negatives or two positives, you take the sum of the absolute values and you use the sign of the numbers for the answers. So if we're going to, number 1, it says add rules for adding numbers with like signs. So if I have 2 plus 4, which you've been doing your whole life, okay? So there's no negatives in there at all. So we just add their absolute values. This is 2 plus 4 is just 6. And then we take the sign. They're both positive, so it's positive. Right. You with me? Does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. Okay. So number 1, add the absolute value of the two numbers. And then 2, that's what it says right in here. Use the sign of the original numbers for your answer. And so let's put, if they're both negative, negative 2 plus negative 6, negative 4, we just add their absolute values. That's going to be a positive 2 and a positive 4 makes 6. But since they're both negative, you're going to get a negative. Okay? All right.
Yeah.
And so here's an example. We have positive 21 plus positive 33. We're just going to add them together. And so since they're both positive, we're going to get a positive. And 54, and it's going to be positive.
Yeah.
Okay? And if we had both negative, negative 13 and plus a negative 26, they're both negative, so it's going to get a negative. And just like on the number line, I was at negative 13, and I'm going to go to the left even more 26, so that makes sense why it stays negative. Right. And so I just add them together, and you're going to get 39. Okay? So far, so good.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to do this. What happens when they're not the same? What if I have a negative and a positive? So what if I had positive 4, and I'm going to add a negative 5? So this time I started at the 4, and I go backwards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where will I be?
9.
Will I be at 9?
Negative.
Negative 9. So I'm here at 4, and I'm going to go back 5. I'm going to go here, here,
oh,
here,
no,
here,
it'd be
here.
negative 1.
Very good, because I had to be at 0 to get, when I went 4 back, I was at 0.
Yes.
1 more makes 5. So this makes negative 1, okay? So we got to come up with, like, last time we have a picture of the rule. What kind of a rule can we make when we're doing opposites? Let's do another example and see if we can figure it out. So if I had negative 7 plus 9, so this time I'm at negative 7, and I go forward 9.
So it'd be 2.
2. How did you figure that out?
I just added what it would, like, subtracted it. So
Right.
just subtract what it says to add and add what it says to subtract.
And so, but how do you know what kind of, how did you know if it was going to be a positive or negative when you're done there?
Because 9 is more than 7, and so if you were to take it up, it's going to be 2 extra.
Yes. Yes, that's how it happened back here also. You'd subtract those, and how did you know that this was negative?
Because 5 is more than 4.
Right, and it was negative, so that's negative. Their rule might say it a slightly different, so let's see what they say on the rule. So their rule says, right here, that we're going to find the difference of the absolute values. Okay, so that's what you did. You subtracted the two numbers, right? And then, number 2, you use the sign of the number of the larger absolute value. So if we had 26 here, and we're going to add negative 31, well, that's what you did. You subtracted the numbers, and that's the absolute value. You just took regular 26 and regular 31, and you subtracted them.
Right.
So what would that be?
It would be, hold on, hurry up, 'cause it's going to be 20. 5.
Good job. Now, is the answer negative or positive?
Positive.
Because?
Because it's going up, right? Because it's coming up underneath. So it'd be
Let's look at the rule number 2. It says use the sign of the number of the larger absolute value. Which one's larger, 26 or 31?
31.
31. So the answer is going to be
Positive. Negative. Negative!
Because
it's going up from 31, right?
which one's bigger, 26 or 31?
31.
So and 31 is
Negative.
so it's negative. So you were right to say negative. You were right to say negative. Okay, so let's do another one. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's go negative 16 plus 18. Okay. So since they're opposites, we're going to subtract, right?
Right.
And so 16 and 18, we subtract them and we get
2.
2. But is it going to be negative or positive?
Positive.
Because?
It's the larger one is positive.
Very good. Let's do another one. Let's start here. 7 plus a negative 2. Why'd you decide that?
No, I'm sorry. It wouldn't be. It would be.
Do I add those two numbers or do I subtract those two numbers?
You subtract.
Okay, so they'll be
5.
All right, and is the answer negative or positive?
Negative. No, positive.
Because
the larger one is positive.
Very good. Let's do this one. 1 plus negative 19. Do I add them or subtract
You
those?
subtract them. And
Okay.
It's negative 18.
Okay, and you decided negative because?
Then 19 is negative.
You're doing it. Negative 9 plus negative 4. Okay, do I add them or subtract them?
You add them.
Okay, and so your answer will be?
13.
And then
negative 13.
And how come?
Because they're both negative.
You're getting it. Let's do one more. You're doing it. All right, let's do, let's be tricky. Negative 4 plus 6 plus 2. How do I do it when there's 3 of them?
You add those first and
Okay,
then
so you want to do this one first? You can, because remember we can add in any order. So negative 4 plus 8. And now what do you want? Are
Okay.
these, do I subtract them or add them?
You subtract them.
Okay.
And it'll be negative. No, 2. Just 2, right?
How'd you decide 2?
Or I'm sorry, 4.
And how did
I
you,
don't know why I
and is
said
it negative
4.
or positive?
It's positive.
Because?
Because the larger one is positive.
Very good. You got it. All right. So we have just done your negatives and positives. Okay. And so, and we could, remember we could add in any order. What, do you remember the property that let us do these two first as opposed to those two first? Remember that property?
Oh,
It had 3 of them.
yeah. The associative?
Good job. You did it again. So we just reviewed your all your properties too. Okay.
Awesome.
You did a good job.